Good evening, fellow Night Owls. I've been trying to reach you about your Starship's extended warranty. In today's video, we're blasting off into the star-strewn expanses of Bethesda's latest cosmic odyssey, Starfield. Amidst my own immense anticipation, I've plunged into the expansive worlds, weaving through many stories and secrets over the past few weeks. And while the adventure has been truly exhilarating, I found myself wandering through memories of RPG titans that have previously enchanted my gaming journey. Now, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time in Starfield, and although I've witnessed the accumulation of its main story, and don't worry, there won't be any spoilers here, I sense that my adventure within its celestial bounds are far from over. There's a richness that I want to explore deeper, allowing more time to marinate in it before I determine its place within the legacy of my RPG experiences. Recently, both here on the channel and in my college classes, I've been navigating a personal journey to find my voice, to define who Cody is and what I stand for. In understanding oneself, just like understanding a game, it shapes our perspectives, narratives, and connections. And as I delve deeper into this exploration, I want to share a fragment of my gaming history with you all, perhaps offering a glimpse into the games that I enjoy. So today isn't just about Starfield, it's about the rich tapestry of RPG worlds that have defined my gaming history. We're gonna jump back, exploring my top 10 RPGs that, to me, epitomize the zenith of what an RPG can be, embodying rich narratives, unforgettable characters, and addictively engaging mechanics. Let's embark on this cosmic retrospective together, and who knows, maybe in the echoes of these legendary worlds, we'll discover where Starfield may eventually find its orbit within the constellation of RPG masterpieces. For all, into the Starfield.
Number 10.
Melding first-person shooter mechanics with an RPG loot system, Borderlands is a bombastic, humorous journey on the planet of Pandora. With a unique cel-shaded aesthetic and over 4.5 million copies of the first entry sold, it has since spawned numerous successful sequels, spin-offs, and even a prequel. This is the first game that I got all the achievements on for Xbox 360, and was a game that I played all the time when it released. While I think Borderlands 2 took the series into much more exciting places, the first game holds a special place in my gaming history. It mixed my two favorite genres, first-person shooters and role-playing games, and the art style holds up well even today. I was recently on the Games My Mom Found podcast to discuss this game in more detail, so a link to that episode will be in the description if you want to hear me discuss this at greater detail. The ability to quickly link up with friends via Xbox Live was a pretty big deal for me. So it was easy to get on Xbox Live, make some friends, and actually use the voice.
Number 9.
Pokemon, the pair of games that kickstarted a multimedia juggernaut. Capturing and battling with the original 151 Pokemon was an instant hit, with sales surpassing 31 million copies. The title saw a GBA remake with Fire Red and Leaf Green, and later on the Switch with Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Now this was the first RPG I remember playing, and I was obsessed with Pokemon at the time. I played with the cards, watched the anime, and I played the ever-loving shit out of Blue version. My brother had Red version, so we were able to trade for the version exclusive Pokemon, and I also remember putting a lot of time into Fire Red on the GBA, which took advantage of a wireless link cable connection. This was before we even had the internet on the DS, so wireless trading was an interesting new feature, especially for a system as old as the Game Boy Advance. But Pokemon has really faded for me. I haven't been super interested in the Pokemon games since the Heart Gold, Soul Silver remakes on the DS, and the recent Switch titles have not impressed me, and Pokemon Shield was kind of the last straw for me. I got randomly traded a level 100 Charizard, and I steamrolled through the game. Pokemon Blue version gets on my list through its historic importance on my gaming psyche. I mean, without it, I might not have gotten into RPG. Imagine what would happen if I had found Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead. I don't feel any different.
Number 8.
Final Fantasy III. Initially only available in Japan, the DS remake introduced the classic job system that first appeared in any Final Fantasy game. And it introduced Moogles! I've gotta be honest, this game was one of the first RPGs that I remember saving up for with my high school jobs tip money. I loved how complex the job system was, and even though the story doesn't stand out as anything to write home about, the deep job system made my multiple playthroughs very enjoyable. I actually have very vivid memories of getting the Final Fantasy III guide before the game came out, and pored over the beautiful hand-drawn art of Yoshitaka Amano, as each character had a unique outfit for each job. Just salivating at the idea that this game had been kept from us for all this time, like some sort of hidden gem, I would have bragging rights just because I played it. I was the coolest kid in my homeschool class.
Number 7.
Radiant Historia. Set in a world being consumed by desertification, Players could manipulate timelines to affect outcomes using a book called The White Chronicle. This is a game that I got the deluxe edition of because it came out with a CD of the game's music. The piano rendition of Yoko Shimomura's work, the beautiful piano renditions were amazing. Music aside, I really enjoyed the idea of this game being a tragedy. Games, for the most part, are about escapism and fantasy fulfillment. I want to be a big strong man, crushing Nazis and killing aliens. I don't want to be confronted with tragedy. But Radiant Historia handles the tragedy with maturity and a sort of acceptance. This game was actually instrumental in a coming tragedy in my own life. 2 years before the game came out, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. With the understanding that his survival rates were low, we knew that the inevitable was coming, and it can be hard to come to terms with an upcoming tragedy, but ultimately we need to do the best we can. When one goes through tragedy, you might not know who you will be on the other side of it, but facing tragedy head on is the best way forward, and that's what this game taught me. Sometimes you do everything right and you still lose. That's just how life is. So confronting the tragedy at the end of this game was a little bit of a lesson on how to confront tragedies in my own life, which is why it ended up on my list.
Number 6.
Legend of Dragoon. Featuring a distinctive addition combat system and a deep, multi-disc narrative, the game stands out as a unique testament to Sony's foray into RPGs. This game feels like such an epic story, with dragons and swords, as well as fantasy elements such as giants and winglings. Each character has a dragon spirit that is conveniently color-coded and elementally aligned with each appropriate member of the party, and has an epic finale in which you fight God to stop the constant rebirth of the world. This was a game that I had the action figures of, played with my brother where we would pass the controller, and I remember grinding for hours to get all my dragoons leveled up. I still have my PS3 around so I can fire up this game every once in a while. It stumbles in many areas and the reviews were okay, but it's a very cool game to fire up, and it's a game that you can still play now, even up to the PS5.
Number 5.
Final Fantasy X. Set in the world of Spira, Titus and a ragtag group of guardians are protecting a summoner unit on a pilgrimage. You have an epic finale in which you fight God to stop the constant rebirth of the world. Am I sensing a theme here? I most recently played this game through on the Switch, and it brought forward a lot of memories for me. Final Fantasy X was my first time beating a Final Fantasy game, and it was an excellent and beautiful way to kick off the PS2's excellent life cycle. I also grew up with a lot of religious talk in my house, so the way this game handles its in-world religion was very relatable to me.
Number 4.
Brave fencer Musashi.
A delightful blend of action, platforming, and RPG elements, players control the titular samurai as he rescues the kingdom's citizens and recovers the 5 scrolls. Despite being a one-of-a-kind title from Square, no remakes or re-releases have been made, and I think that's personally a shame. I bought the game on disc a few years back out of sheer desire to play it again, and this is a great action RPG. Many of the names are silly and food related, and there's even a toy store in town. And this game still controls okay, sort of. We've really gotten the handle on third-person games, but you can definitely tell this was a pre-2000s third-person RPG. This one was a favorite of my dad and my brothers and I remember daydreaming about fighting with 2 swords. It's such a unique idea, and with other similarly timed RPGs going forward into steampunk or futuristic styles, I think it kind of mixed elements of fantasy-themed RPGs and the future. And when the other famous RPG from that year is you've got to kind of carry the good game mantle yourself. Number 3. Skyrim. An absolute mammoth in the RPG realm, Skyrim invites players into a sprawling, dragon-infested world. With over 30 million copies sold, I don't really have to defend this decision too hard. But this is a game that I come back to often. I've bought it so many times that I can't really count, and it's almost always discounted or going on sale soon somewhere. It basically runs on anything now as well, which they have made fun of themselves.
A mud crab scuttles towards you. I didn't catch that.
But this is one of the main games that even Todd Howard was comparing Starfield pretty directly to. And I don't think that it's a fight Starfield should make. Sure, the infinite galaxies are great, but you're basically fast traveling through systems and doing stuff in menu. In Skyrim, your world is literally your burrito. After doing a short introductory setting, you could fuck off in whatever direction you feel like. And that's fine. I haven't beaten the main story for a while, just because there's almost limitless things you can do in the world of Skyrim. And it's fun to just help goddesses, get revenge, or become a vampire killer, or ride a unicorn. And that's kind of why it's so high up on my list.
Number 2.
The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Link to the Past took players to both the light and dark worlds of Hyrule, setting the tone for future Zelda games. It's been re-released on various Nintendo platforms, from the GBA where I first played it, to all the way to the Switch's online service, and remains a strong game in the Legends continuing lineup. It even got a pseudo-sequel in the 3DS with A Link Between Worlds, and this was the first Zelda game that I played to completion. The SNES was an RPG powerhouse and had a great lineup of games, but I think Link to the Past is what solidified Link as the hero he is today. I don't think we would have this franchise around if this game had failed. I really appreciate how much Nintendo was able to do with so few buttons, and solving puzzles without a guide was a feat I don't think I could replicate today. But it shaped my bloodlust for RPGs, and it still stands up over 30 years later, so it's my number 2 pick.
Number 1.
Fallout New Vegas. Developed by Obsidian Entertainment and including many of the Fallout series' original contributors, New Vegas is set in a post-apocalyptic version of Las Vegas. It's been deeply cherished for its environmental storytelling, and rightly so. For example, there can be multiple quests that lead you to a specific location, and who you are with or how you are dressed can affect how the story unfolds. And your decisions don't always end up with something good happening. For example, Vault 22 can be reached by 4 separate quests, or just by finding it on your own, which is wild to me. And while it is a Bethesda game and was plagued with technical problems upon release, this is still a fantastic game that has really earned its spot on the number 1 slot. I grew up in Southern California, and so driving to and from Vegas for different things over my lifetime, I've actually stopped at a few of the towns that are in this game. And maybe that's why it's my number 1 game. They even have a soda in the game that's reminiscent of a soda that I drank growing up in the Southern California area, and its relevance in the game. I really wish that we had it where I live now in the East Coast, but we still don't. And here we are, Cosmic Explorers, having traveled through the stellar landscapes of my RPG history, and we found ourselves back, somewhat pensively, in the boundless expanses of Starfield. Throughout our journey, I've been contemplative, finding both charms and voids within its celestial spheres. It's almost an echo of solitude, traveling through vast, randomly generated planets that, albeit stunning, often lack the vibrant life and intricate details that turn a game from an experience into a living, breathing universe. This astral journey, while remarkable in its ambition, did cast shadows of longing for more. More depth in the space travel, richer discoveries on distant planets, and a more nuanced interaction within its galaxies. It's reminiscent of those early days navigating through the initial emptiness of Outer Wilds, a title that, while launching in a somewhat limited guise, managed to morph into a thoroughly engaging and expansive space RPG, showcasing that games, much like space, are ever expanding and transformative. It is that essence of transformation and evolution that casts a light of hope on Starfield's shortcomings. After all, the universe of gaming is no stranger to redemption art and pioneering innovations post-launch, turning potentially barren worlds into lush, captivating escapade. And speaking of something lush and captivating, let's drift for a moment to the terrestrial taste of Cactus Cooler Soda. Imagine the cool, refreshing orange pineapple blast! It's that effervescent burst that surprises and delights, much like the hidden gems within the expansive RPG worlds, offering a respite and unexpected joy in the journey. So let's hold on to hope of evolving adventures and the sweet, unexpected delight of Cactus Cooler Soda. Cactus Cooler, please sponsor me.